Since the beginning of time, God has had a contract with man. If you obey God, then you experience His blessings. If you disobeyed Him, however, then your only hope for forgiveness was by paying a sacrificial penalty, a penalty of death. In my time, before the time of grace that you live in today, I had to bring sacrifices to God as payment for all my sins. As long as I was under this contract, I enjoyed a close relationship with my God and experienced His blessings. I thought that I was in favor with God. I was nearly 100 years old when God promised my wife and I that we would not only have a son, but that our children would be God's chosen people. I could hardly believe it. My wife, she'd never been able to bear children before. And we were somewhat of an advanced age, you know. Well, believe it or not, my wife, she bore a son, Isaac. What a blessing. Oh, I thought that it was impossible. But God, He was faithful. Thank you, God. Now this might sound like a happy ending, but my story, it did not end there. It was some years later that God had asked me to take my son Isaac, father of God's chosen people, and He commanded me to offer him as a sacrifice, to kill my beloved son. What can I do? I love my son so dearly. But my God, my Creator, He'd always been faithful to me. And He had given me a promise. So I obeyed Him. As I journeyed with my son, I agonized over every step. I could not bring myself to tell Isaac what God had commanded me to do. When Isaac asked me where the sacrifice was, I simply told him that God, He would provide the lamb son. Oh. It was with pain in my heart. I took the knife from my coat. I lifted it above my son's head. When suddenly, Abraham, Abraham, a voice cried out. It was an angel of God. He told me that this had been all a test and that I had passed. Thank you. As he spoke, in the bushes there was a ram. God had provided a substitute in place of my son. Thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. You live in a different time than I did. You live under a different contract. A contract of grace. Just as God had provided a sacrifice in place of my son, He has come to earth. He has robed Himself in flesh and become a perfect sacrifice, a spotless lamb. And He has died for you. This, brothers and sisters, is a story about Jesus. This is a story about grace. This is the story of an all-powerful God's love for you. Woo!
A 3 days journey to the east.